Good evening and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening television news. We're broadcasting live and then available on demand. And we're available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple Television, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, YouTube, and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It's Wednesday, July 26, 2023. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson, and this evening we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ plus community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ plus news, you will see it and hear it.
HOTspots Magazine Happening Out Television Network is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same models of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ plus community. Our mission, support the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ plus community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our Black community, Latino, lesbian and queer women, trans, student youth, seniors, HIV, AIDS, healthcare, business, social justice, and faith. Help us support our community.
We're part of the largest LGBTQ plus media companies in America, HOTspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
Our magazine is celebrating 38 years of the LGBTQ plus experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ plus community.
Well, let's welcome anchor FayWhat. She is a radio and television personality and is the host of the FayWhat Show, the first LGBTQ plus morning program Mondays at 9 a.m. and then on demand and on all streaming and social media platforms. She's also a hostess and MC for many South Florida events. Welcome, Faye.
I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. I'm sorry, I'm still stuck on that. Hello, everyone. In the gay agenda, Imperial Sun Court of all Florida summer pool party and hot dog eating contest August 5th. This fun pool party and hot dog eating contest by the Imperial Sun Court will be held on August 5th from 4 to 10 p.m. The Imperial Sun Court of all Florida is a nonprofit LGBTQ plus friendly organization committed to raising funds for local charities. The venue will be Janata Isles Imperial Court Pool. It is time to relax with your ISCOAF family at the home of our gracious hosts, Lee and Steven. Food, drinking, and fun will be integral to this event. The party will feature reigning monarchs, Emperor E and Empress LIS, celebrating her birthday month. Happy birthday! All you have to do is bring your swimsuit and appetite for the hot dog eating contest. The event has a $25 entry fee. If you want to enter the hot dog eating contest, it's $50. For further details, you can visit imperialsuncourtfl.org.
Let's welcome John Hayden. A journalist for 28 years, he now works for several outlets, including Out South Florida, as senior reporter and community editor. Welcome, John.
In the gay agenda, HOTspots Happening Out presents PrideFe August 12th. PrideFe is back with the Caribbean Pride event of 2023. PrideFe is a South Florida LGBTQ plus festival celebrating the music, food, and spirit of the Caribbean culture in a safe space for the LGBTQ plus community and our allies. The Pride will be hosted at Richardson Historic Park and Nature Preserve in Wilton Manors on Saturday, August 12th. HOTspots Happening Out has partnered up with the City of Wilton Manor and Pride Fort Lauderdale to bring this celebration to the island city. It is your chance to become a unique part of a unique celebration and stand by the community while having fun. Find out more about the event at pridefet.com.
Welcome, anchor Cindy Brown. Cindy was an early organizer of the Miami AIDS Walk and the White Party for Care resource. She also served as the executive director of the GFLGLCC Foundation, among other important positions she holds. Welcome, Cindy.
I am so glad to be back at this table. It's been a bit for me. In the gay agenda, GFLGLCC August Mixer in Steelpan at Sonesta Fort Lauderdale Beach on August 15th. Get ready for the upcoming mixer for the Greater Fort Lauderdale Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce. The mixer will be held on August 15th, hosted by the Sonesta Fort Lauderdale Beach at Steelpan Restaurant. The GFLGLCC promotes business and economic opportunities for the LGBTQ+ and allied community. Attendees will enjoy a complimentary welcome drink, a cash bar with happy hour prices, complimentary appetizers, and valet parking for 2 hours, along with giveaways. HOTspots Happening Out Television Network is the media partner for the event, which will start at 5:30 p.m. Tickets are available at gogayfortlauderdale.com.
Let's welcome anchor Kal Gajraj. Kal is a first-generation Muslim American and an award-winning communications executive and diversity officer. He's a professor and an advisory board member for the University of South Florida's College of Business. Welcome, Kal.
Thanks, Al. In the gay agenda, the Dolphin Democrats get back to work, building momentum for 2024 on August 9th. The Pride Center in Wilton Manors will host the monthly social meeting of Dolphin Democrats on August 9th, with check-in starting at 6:30 p.m. Founded in 1982, the Dolphin Democrats is the oldest LGBTQ+ political organization in Florida. As summer vacations come to an end and school is getting ready to start up again, let's redouble our efforts to make new commitments to register more voters and to turn them out next fall. This free-of-cost social will be open to members and guests. Pizza and refreshments will be provided. More information on the social is available at dolphindems.org.
We are the reporters for the Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ+ community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the Queer News for today, Wednesday, July 26th. Well, let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Visit Lauderdale presents the best 10 things to do for Labor Day weekend. Labor Day is right around the corner, and you've got a long weekend ahead. Greater Fort Lauderdale has the perfect ideas for different ways the community can enjoy the holiday. With 8 beaches spread among 24 miles of Golden Sand, it is a no-brainer that this is the place to be for Labor Day. Whether you're an outdoor enthusiast, food adventurer, craft beer fan, fashionista, dog lover, or art connoisseur, Greater Fort Lauderdale will serve you the best. Here is what it has to offer you this Labor Day. How about take a self-guided tour of downtown Hollywood and the Mural Project to check out curated contemporary murals and international and domestic artist displays. Canoe or paddleboard at Westlake Park in Florida's Hollywood and paddle your way through winding mangrove-lined trails. Enjoy a cruise along Fort Lauderdale's renowned New River on a one-of-a-kind floating tiki bar. How about strolling along Las Olas Boulevard, also known as Fort Lauderdale's Style Mile, for delectable dishes and sidewalk seating, shopping, and art galleries. You could drop into Ann's Florist or Coffee Bar for macaroons, Panther Coffee, antiques, and sweet mementos. In case you want to enjoy the day with your pet, how about heading on over to Park and Ocean at the beachfront Hugh Taylor Birch State Park for live music, good food, craft beer, and a gorgeous sunset. The list is long and the options are endless, and there is something for everyone under the sun. Well, Labor Day is exciting for us. It's our next long weekend, and I think the campaign is interesting because first it makes me think about Labor Day, because I wouldn't think about Labor Day until Friday before Labor Day.
Because you don't work.
Sound like me.
Well, there's that. Some people don't call this work. I have many criticisms online of that. But it's an opportunity to think in advance of things to do. I got to start planning, basically, because I don't want to ruin my weekend. I want to plan on something to visit Lauderdale.
Well, and you gave us a bunch of stuff to look forward to, and there's still so many other things to do here in South Florida. And, you know, we love Visit Lauderdale. We love Richard Gray and the beautiful Miss Stacy Ritter. Hi, baby. And, you know, there's always stuff to do. But I love, one of my favorite things you mentioned was Treetop Park. So I don't like to work out. You folks know that, right? But I do love my dog. And they have tons of workout events there.
Never been
at you haven't? You've got to go.
Yeah.
It's huge and it's beautiful, and they've got all these workouts so you can do with your dog. So imagine yoga or CrossFit, anything that you can think of. They have classes there to do with your best buddy alongside you. It's awesome.
You know, it's very interesting that we live here in South Florida, and there's so many things that we've never done or ever gone to.
Here, and we don't do this.
South Florida, see it like a tourist.
Right?
And that tiki bar that floats up and down the New River, that is so fun. And it's so much, and they're good people, but it's so much more fun than the bicycle thing where you have to like pedal up. By the time you get to one end, and then they're like, okay, now you have to pedal. So it's fun, but when I'm drinking, it's a little much. And I will be visiting our lovely Port Everglades on Labor Day weekend. I am. I'm heading out on a cruise. So it's going to be a really fun weekend.
I was sitting here thinking, no, Faye's not doing the tiki bar because that requires exercise to bike. How do you know about CrossFit and yoga?
Because of other people, not for me. But then, you know, if you honestly go to Visit Lauderdale, they always have incredible things to do. Another place that I went to that I had never heard about was the Bonnet House, right?
Oh, it's
and that was where they painted me, Mr. Avi Ram. Hi. He did a segment for Visit Lauderdale in plain sight, right? Hidden in plain sight, and they painted me right into the botanical garden. It's just an incredible place.
Awesome.
All right. Well, next, let's queer up out South Florida. Familiar faces start new jobs in South Florida nonprofits. The LGBTQ plus community supports and is supported by myriad philanthropic groups, from healthcare to access to PrEP to counseling, house and food insecurity, and more. We have formed important infrastructure to keep our community thriving. In this week's Out South Florida, I look at two organizations announcing big moves. First, Terry Dyer has joined CAN Community Health as Director of Donor Development. He will be helping grow the organization during a period of accelerating growth. While he has experience working in corporate America, he has worked in nonprofits since moving to South Florida about 3 years ago, including SunServe and most recently at World AIDS Museum. The other big announcement comes from PRISM. Founder and Happening Out contributor Max Fenning is now the group's executive director. This means he can focus full-time on PRISM's mission of inclusion and health for LGBTQ plus youth. For most of us, these appointments are far from tectonic shifts in our lives. But for the people they serve, it can mean the world. Fresh eyes, fresh perspectives, fresh pitches to donors. They, like so many others in the nonprofit world, have the opportunity to quietly impact our community. You can read more about Dyer, Fenning, and their organizations in this week's Out South Florida online and on Stands Now. And, you know, I do a lot of reporting on the community, especially in the nonprofit space. And I've just really enjoyed getting to know these two, and more importantly, the organizations, because I've worked with them behind the scenes, CAN before Terry joined, and with Max when he was just the founder and president. And so he's, so they're good ones, and I just enjoy being able to get out and see all the good that's our community and bring it to people, because if I weren't looking for it, I wouldn't see it. And I know that a lot of other people wouldn't see it as well. So I'm a giver. It's community service.
You are. It is community service. And I love the pictures of these two. You see Terry Dyer, right? Terry Dyer is exceptional. He can work anywhere. That's just who he is, right? He's got that great, perfect real estate picture. Right. And then you have Max Fenning, right? Who's just like a little goofy guy. We love Max. But now that you're ED, I expect for you to pay for drinks next time.
Well, you know, coming from a nonprofit, you know, we're really lucky that we do have a lot of wonderful talent here in South Florida. And the nonprofit organizations that are here really, really work hard to meet the needs of folks. And coming from the nonprofit perspective, working with LGBT seniors, the general community really doesn't know the magnitude of the needs that our community has. So best of luck to both of these gentlemen.
And there's a lot of hard work that goes into these nonprofits. I mean, when you even look at the missions of a lot of these organizations, not only here in South Florida, but across the United States and the world, the things that these organizations are involved in are absolutely incredible. What they're raising awareness for, what they're raising funds for. You know, I spent a greater part of my career working in nonprofit, but in the arts. You know, so it's pretty incredible from every aspect, you know, from nonprofit, how we can get involved.
You know, I think one of the big leads that come out of John's story is CAN itself. CAN is very important to our community, but in a secondary way. They're the principal sponsorship and backer of the Smart Ride for Glenn Weinzimmer and Todd Del May, and CAN has for years and years been very invested in that. They're an organization based on the west coast of Florida, and they really haven't had a seat here in South Florida. And now with the integration, let's use the word integration, with Midland and Midland Health's mission in Oakland Park and here in Broward County being combined with Community AIDS Network, it gives CAN a seat here in our own backyard. Very, very important because of the Smart Ride, and also just because of the growing strength of the South Florida LGBTQ community and how important healthcare is to our community. So we welcome CAN's growing presence here in South Florida, which is really what your story's about.
Yeah.
And for Max Fenning, there is no greater need in our community, in my opinion, than our embracement of young LGBT. We see it in attack in Don't Say Gay. We see it in attack from our governor in the supermajority. We see it in attack in trying to minimize Gen Z and millennials. And Max has been recognized repeatedly as one of those voices that is trying to help shield the community, and along with Safe Schools South Florida, has been one of the leading voices in this lane. And for Wilton Drive, who's got older privileged white guy down to a T, we need Max Fennings, even with the interesting picture that we just Max Fenning. We love you, Max, and you're doing a great job for your community, which means our community.
Next up, let's queer up gay culture. Anti-LGBTQ plus book protest backfires as library sees flood of book donations. Adrienne Peterson, the manager of the Rancho Peñaquitos branch of the San Diego Public Library, has been running the library since about 2012. She has highlighted books for Pride Month for the better part of a decade and was taken aback when she read an email last month from 2 neighborhood residents. They informed her that they had gotten nearly all the books in the Pride display checked out and would not return them unless the library permanently removed what they considered inappropriate content. Ms. Peterson said she began to wonder if she had been misunderstanding the community for so long. But soon she got the answers when stacks of Amazon boxes containing new copies of the books the protesters checked out started to arrive at the library after the San Diego Union Tribune reported on the protests. Roughly 180 people, mostly San Diegans, gave more than $15,000 to the library system, which after a city match will provide over $30,000 toward more LGBTQ plus themed materials and programming, including an expansion of the system's already popular drag queen story hours. The city council member who represents Rancho Peñaquitos, Marnie Von Wilpert, condemned the library protest against Pride books and asked the community to help restore the display. I'm so happy I get a happy story today, right? Like, this story gave me life, okay? When you think that it's all gonna go bad, Ms. Peterson, it didn't. And you are an incredible, incredible head of that library. Thank you for all that you did. $30,000 towards that. That's incredible. I'm gonna send you 2 of my favorite books, okay? Dos Chicas Que Se Quieren, and the other book that I really love that is called Some Girls Do.
That's great. I mean, I love these kind of feel-good stories where someone's attempt at harming our community backfires on them. And it just goes
Karen effect.
Right. Well, it just goes to show that these rare voices, because they're not the majority, are being overtaken by those that are in the majority. And this just warms my heart.
Right.
You know, in your face, neighbors.
And I see it a little differently. I see this as a terrible story that fortunately has a happy ending. This is essentially theft. I don't know how much how much books were stolen, possibly grand theft. That they came in and just took the books and essentially held gay culture hostage. Seriously, I hope these people are brought into court, either by small claims or whatever, because this is terrible. They are essentially doing, Florida, it only takes one parent for a school library to investigate a book. These people are just eliminating the school board middleman, and Karen number 1 and Karen number 2 are just going in there and taking them for themselves, disregarding any attempt that there might be a plurality in this country or people who think differently and should be allowed to express that.
Right. And these people thought that they were so funny and cute that they were going to stick it to the library system and check out these books and not return them. You know, and look what happened in reverse. You know?
Don't mess with the Dewey Decimal System.
Well, they'll get a bill for all of those books if they don't.
I'm a little Dewey right now.
Repeatedly in the conversation about the Karen effect, but isn't that exactly what we're watching? Two women make a decision that we are going to commandeer what the entire general public thinks. The library system of San Diego County, all of the people that are celebrating Pride Month, and those that would like to check out a book, perhaps an ally, perhaps somebody that is not a supporter of LGBT but wants to learn more about our community. You deny them the opportunity. That is the classic Webster's dictionary when you open it of Karen and you see the two names that did this. My only regret is that we don't know the two names, because I assure you I would say them out loud right now. One other thing that I think is wonderful about this, raised $15,000, all of these people that came in, matched by the county to do it. It's true, apparently, and that Tucker Carlson, of what he said about us, is true. He called us a virus. And now I'm going to agree with Tucker. We're just like a virus.
And you can't kill us.
And you can't kill the virus. You just can't, Tucker. Yeah. And by the way, where are you?
He misses you.
Where in the world?
I miss you.
Now let's queer up sports. World Aquatics Congress announces new transgender-friendly open category for all gender swimmers. World Aquatics President Hussein Al-Musallam said they will set up an open category that will include transgender competitors. He said the event would take place in the future among other races, but gave no details. Reports suggest that it could be this year. At the World Aquatics Congress in the southwestern Japanese city of Fukuoka, Al-Musallam said that this is a complicated subject, but he's happy to share that the World Aquatics is making plans for the first trial of an open category. World Aquatics had previously banned transgender competitors from major events like the Olympics and World Championships. He said, quote, "Nobody should be excluded from our competitions," end quote. The topic has been divisive, and many governing bodies in major sports have avoided it. And there will be many questions to answer as the first trial event unfolds under the eyes of lawyers and scientists. In March of 2022, American swimmer Leah Thomas won the 500-yard freestyle at the NCAA Championships in Atlanta, becoming the first transgender woman to claim a national title in swimming. Thomas became a leading symbol of transgender athletes, stirring both opposition and support when she joined the University of Pennsylvania's women's swim team after competing for 3 years on the men's squad at the Ivy League school. Well, I think that the World Aquatics Congress is groundbreaking new areas in opening this new open category where essentially anybody can participate in this open category. I know there is a lot of controversy about trans women, especially trans women who have just transitioned, competing against women. And there are some valid arguments on both sides.
After you hear all of the arguments, where do you think it leads to?
I think it leads to more inclusivity. I absolutely do, because I think this will give the world an opportunity to see these transgender and anybody who wants to compete in this category.
I'm on the fence here. I'm on the fence for this, okay? And I'll tell you why. Because, a gender-neutral bathroom saved a lot of our siblings' lives, right? Gave somewhere for people to go to use the freaking bathroom, right? So I get it. It's a good start, but it's not a solution, at least for me, right? Because I'm looking at it as, okay, so you're going to have men, women, and others. I don't want to feel like the others. I don't want to perform with the others. And so you're not including us, you're actually excluding us, and you're making a whole new lane. So that's why I'm torn. You know what I mean, Cindy?
Yeah, I disagree with you.
Okay.
And I partially disagree with you.
You always do.
I don't think it is a good start. I don't think it is a good idea, because separate is never equal. I hope that every trans swimmer will boycott this particular event.
I have a very unpopular view, especially when it comes to Leah Thomas. She competed for years on the men's team at that university, which meant her transition, there wasn't a lot of time between her transition and then competing as a woman. My personal opinion is she had an unfair advantage. Now, if somebody transitioned as a younger person, I don't think that should affect their ability to compete in the gender that they are in. But I do believe that in this particular instance, because she transitioned later in life, she had competed as a man with that, developing that men's muscular system that women just can't match.
Well, I don't.
So I know that that's not a popular opinion.
No, but that's your opinion, and you're allowed to have it, Miss Cindy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As someone who has friends that are super close in transition, right? I know that the first year they couldn't push a table.
Right.
Because of what the meds that they were on to transition, right? So my belief is that they could compete, because they don't have that same muscle memory as they did when they were a man. But again, science, okay? We need more studies. We need more data. We need more information on this, and somebody's got to pay for it. We need it.
Yeah, and also you're talking about, and I don't know how old Leah is. I don't know if she came to college later in life, but
she
when
was
you're
at the
talking
same college. She competed as a man,
right,
and then she competed as a woman 2 years later.
But my point is that when you're in college, you're still relatively young. You're 18 to 22, 18 to 23 years old. So there hasn't been a lot of time for you to transition. I mean, most of the time you can only do hormone blockers until you get to 18, when your body is mature enough to start handling surgeries and advanced things. So it's really hard to say, because it's such a compressed time frame. Now, if she was doing it at 26 and going to the Olympics, let's say, I would absolutely agree with you. Yeah. But I think because it's college, even if you wanted to transition at 12, the ability to do it is limited by partially by science, sometimes by the state.
My belief is coming from, I have nieces, and I want them to be able to compete against people that are on an equal level. I mean, I do believe that when we get to the Olympics and stuff like that, and people have been transitioned for, maybe it's a certain number of years, I don't know, but I do feel really torn on this subject, because I feel for athletes, and I love my transgender friends more than anything.
Separate but equal.
Is never equal.
It can be a useful paradigm, however. Historically, in the 1990s, Bill Clinton's Don't Ask, Don't Tell. This is a similar kind of policy that World Aquatics is trying to adopt. Is it fair? No, it's absolutely not fair. Is it rooted in the reality of the politics of population? It absolutely is. And at the end of the day, while our community was very critical on Don't Ask, Don't Tell, there are many political historians that say Bill Clinton made the right decision, because he took the absolutists off the playing field by doing this, which is, you're okay as long as we don't talk about it. Do we like that? No. but you're okay, and that becomes an implementation short term to get to whatever. And of course, we know, think about in the 1990s when Don't Ask, Don't Tell existed. Barack Obama, not yet senator, was opposed to gay marriage. He was not a great LGBT advocate. That interim step and many other interim steps begins to help re-educate those that need help. Can you just give me enough time to come along with you? That's what World Aquatics is doing here.
Right.
Critical, not critical. I have problems with it, not having problems with it. I don't think those are the big issues. The big issue is it is a political reality that for trans community issues in sports, that we have issues that we need to give the broader population enough time to breathe, put their hand in our hand, and let us bring you along with us to help. Faye's absolutist in her in a clear viewpoint of where she is on this issue, and we need people to stand and talk to Faye long enough for her to be able to help them understand that. And one other thing that I think is really good about this policy change, you know who absolutely hates this? Who absolutely, exactly right. Governor Ron DeSantis hates this decision. And the reason he hates this decision is it defeats what he ultimately wants. I've just completed an interview with Zoe Zephyr, the state representative that was banned from speaking in Montana. And she clearly explains to me, look, Al, what they want is eradication.
Right.
And that's what Ron DeSantis wants, eradication. So when the World Aquatics Association says, you know, let's have an open competition because we want every trans person to participate. It does not follow Ron DeSantis's mantra paradigm of eradication, which keeps trans in front of us, which, like Don't Ask, Don't Tell, gives people time to begin to learn and understand. I applaud their decision. Is it what we want? It absolutely isn't. Is it probably the best decision for July of 2023? It probably absolutely is. Just a thought.
Next, let's queer up religion. Pope Francis tells transgender youth God loves us the way we are. Pope Francis has told a young transgender person that, quote, God loves us as we are, end quote, in his latest outreach gesture towards the LGBTQ plus community. His comments, released by the Vatican media on Tuesday, were in a podcast in which Francis listened and responded to audio messages from young people ahead of a Catholic youth festival, which he will attend in Portugal next week. One of the youth people was Giona, an Italian in their early 20s, who said the dichotomy between the Catholic faith and the transgender identity tears them. Francis replied, quote, the Lord always walks with us, even if we are sinners. He draws near to help us. The Lord loves us as we are, end quote. The Catholic Church teaches that members of the LGBTQ plus community should be treated with respect, compassion, and sensitivity, and their human rights respected. Whether the church can and should be more welcoming towards LGBTQ plus people, for example, by offering blessings for same-sex unions, is a particularly sensitive topic. Francis has famously said, quote, who am I to judge, end quote, in an answer to a question specifically about gay people, and has condemned laws criminalizing members of the LGBTQ plus community as a sin and as an injustice. I think this is, there's a lot of things about the Catholic Church in general that I know that we all don't agree with, but I think this is a small step towards that change and, of course, acceptance as well, especially for a lot of, LGBT plus community members who are of faith and go to church, but they have this thing inside of them where it's like they can't fully be who they are because they're torn by what they believe in. And the Pope coming out and saying something like this, kind of helps them in their belief.
I do believe that that young woman is forever changed. You know,
Oh,
you believe to be in your early 20s and have the Pope say, you know, who am I to judge? And God loves us how we are, even though we're sinners. Mama, you're not a sinner. Okay. You're a perfect individual. You're whole and complete, and the universe and God loves you. Okay. So, you know, and again, breadcrumbs. Why are you giving me breadcrumbs, Pope? No, you gave me one crumb, not even the crumbs. All right. You keeps on doing that. He gives us, he's like queer baiting us. Ow. You know what I mean? Like in his own way. Like I'm not up for that. Like, you know, tell me more. Tell me what you should be saying. It's 2023.
Yeah, he's the bot on Grindr that still wants your money, but is never ever going to come to your house.
You know, I love that Faye is so maniacal to the conclusion of I want it now. She's so consistent.
Yeah.
She's consistent. I love it.
Yeah. You know,
I was going to say,
I wanted to focus on a line in the story. The Catholic Church teaches that members of the LGBTQ plus community should be treated with respect, compassion, sensitivity, and have their human rights respected. Yes, that's true. Now, like, this is like really brand new. This is like a Pope Francis thing to be open about it and to say those exact words, which is a positive step. Yeah. It's a crumb that's not going to fill you up, but it's something. Also, this is important because while the church has had dwindling influence in Italian politics for a long time, there's a neo-fascist government right now in Rome that is suppressing gay rights almost every week. We're doing a story out of
removed from birth certificates.
Yeah, no same-sex couples can have their names on. Yeah. So for him to be saying this, the Pope still carries a lot of weight in Rome as it goes outward. Yeah. So this is particularly important that it happens in Italy.
Are we happy the Pope does this? Just yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
Of course.
All
absolutely.
Right. So we're happy for the crumb. Oliver Twist, please, may I have some more? But however, the Pope's been giving us more.
Yeah, more than any other Pope ever has.
Here's my nuance of this story. I've read all about this. I read about this in Dan Brown's book. There's probably an Illuminati, and if I was Pope Francis, I'd be scared shitless. Because that Swiss guard better be standing close to the Pope, because the Illuminati's going to get you. It reminds me of that famous line that Whoopi Goldberg did in Ghost. Girl, you in danger, because you keep doing this, and that Illuminati that's in the Vatican, they're going to be coming for you, girl. They're just going to be coming. But thank you for the crumb.
Production is making your tin foil hat right now. It'll be ready after the show.
Yeah. Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral.
Oh, how appropriate.
The world's largest queer church right here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we're broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m.
Well, we finished tonight's Queer News headlines with a segment we call LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News.
LGBTQ plus 1 Minute News. Let's queer up the USA View. Transgender Michigan man in wheelchair shot by pellet gun and mocked.
Blake Newton, he was riding his motorized wheelchair on the sidewalk in Pontiac on Saturday morning. This happened just after midnight, about 12:15. We were told that he was on Baldwin Road near Bennett, headed to the gas station when someone pulled up alongside him in a beige sedan and started shooting a pellet gun at him. Now, the carload of people then started taunting him. They were laughing at him, calling him hurtful names and transphobic slurs as they sped away. This morning, the Oakland County Sheriff's Office, they are working to track that carload of people down. Take a listen.
I don't remember seeing a gun, but it all happened so fast. The shock. I have no idea what these people look like. All I know is it was a beige, small four-door car. I just remember the pain and the fear. I knew I had to get off the sidewalk. I remember when the police pulled up because there were no lights on them. I was terrified that the people had come back to shoot me again. I started panicking.
"30-year-old Andrew Blake Newton of Pontiac, Michigan, said he was shot 5 times from a car full of people who were mocking him and yelling anti-trans slurs. The incident occurred just after midnight while Blake Newton was traveling from his home to the local gas station to buy a snack. Blake Newton told WDIV-TV that the people who shot him were in a small tan sedan and laughed at him as they drove away. Oakland County Sheriff Michael Bouchard confirmed a reward of $1,000 is being offered for information leading to an arrest. The Human Rights Campaign has reported the deaths of at least 12 trans people due to violence so far just this year.
In LGBTQ plus 1 minute news, let's queer up politics. Texas Representative Julie Johnson may become first LGBTQ plus person elected to Congress from the South. Texas State Representative Julie Johnson, the early frontrunner in the race for a U.S. House seat left open by departing Representative Colin Allred, is on track to become the first openly LGBTQ plus person elected to Congress from the Lone Star State. She'd also be the first elected from the entire American South, where the bulk of anti-LGBTQ plus legislation was passed this year. Johnson's campaign announcement video released last month highlighted the 57-year-old's experience as an attorney, an openly gay Texan, and a state lawmaker who unseated former Republican State Representative Matt Rinaldi.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up gay culture. The LGBTQ plus community honors the victims of the Upstairs Lounge 50 years later. The city of New Orleans is rediscovering the history of a deadly attack that took place on June 24, 1973, at the Upstairs Lounge in New Orleans. Memorial events took place this week in the southern city, introducing a new generation to the tragedy and its victims. Robert W. Feisler, author of Tinderbox, The Untold Story of the Upstairs Lounge Fire and the Rise of Gay Liberation, said, quote, "This wasn't a hate crime, but the response by the police, the media, and the city certainly was clouded by bigotry, nonsense, and homophobia," end quote. New Orleans institutions suppressed news of the attack, particularly that its target was a gay bar. Some of the victims' families were ashamed to claim their bodies. Local talk show hosts and police officers openly mocked the victims' sexuality. Even the LGBTQ plus community was mostly quiet. Until the Pulse massacre in 2016, the fire was the largest attack on the LGBTQ plus community in U.S. history, with 32 people losing their lives.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up entertainment. Music star Hozier speaks out against transphobes. Irish musician Hozier has long been a fierce and vocal defender of the LGBTQ plus community and has a message to anyone targeting trans people. Recently, there has been a marked rise in hostility towards the trans community, something the Take Me to Church singer has noticed. Speaking to Metro ahead of the release of the new album Unreal Unearthed, the acclaimed lyricist described the wave of transphobia as a distraction from the serious issues affecting the world. He said, quote, "At a time where there are already huge questions to be asked about how our society is functioning and what we want out of an economy that really isn't working for everyday folks, There are media companies who love picking on soft targets, end quote. He called the scapegoating of tiny minorities the oldest trick in the book.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news. Let's queer up courts. Former police officer sues Nashville PD for rescinding job offer after finding he was HIV positive. A former Memphis Police Officer of the Year has filed a discrimination lawsuit against the Nashville Police Department, claiming it violated federal law by rescinding a job offer after learning he has HIV. The lawsuit, filed Friday in federal court in Nashville, said the officer presented a letter from his healthcare provider showing his HIV status should not disqualify him from employment. Nashville's legal department has not yet been served with the lawsuit. The department previously defended the decision to rescind the officer's offer of employment in 2012. Saying that the city's charter requires all police officer candidates to meet certain physical requirements which exclude people with HIV from enlisting. These regulations are currently the subject of a separate lawsuit by Lambda Legal. That is today's news for the LGBTQ plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience watching this live LGBTQ plus news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of HOTspots magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including FayWhat, John Hayden, Cindy Brown, and Kal Gajraj. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. And to our LGBTQ plus world, we wish you
good night,
everyone.
We are Queer News Tonight, the world's first and only live daily LGBTQ plus evening news show, brought to you from Happening Out Television Network. We operate in the same model of PBS and NPR, but for the LGBTQ plus community. We educate, inform, and entertain by supporting the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ plus community, with more than 100,000 a week watching us on Roku, Apple Television, and other channels. To keep the story going, we accept donations with 100% transparency. Stay updated and live authentically with Queer News Tonight.